Hi everyone. So we're going to talk today about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a chatbot that was created by OpenAI and it was launched back in 2022. It is a kind of generative AI or artificial intelligence, which just means that it can create things. In this case, it can create pretty much any kind of text, including essays, cover letters. Um, and I asked it, for example, to write me a poem like Mary Oliver. And it gave me back a poem called The Wild Things, which was a pretty close approximation. Um, this tool is backed by a lot of data. It's trained essentially on a bunch of example texts, including the work of journalists. And we'll talk a bit more about that. But this is how it's able to write back text and create text that is in the format and the style that you want it to be. As an example, the New York Times did a fun little feature using ChatGPT on Valentine's Day, where you could have ChatGPT customize a Valentine's Day note for you that you could then send to someone. Outside of this, the New York Times has also stated that it's using generative AI to help it draft headlines or even write summaries about the articles on its website. It does emphasize that it is not using AI to write its articles. And the AP last year also came out with its own standards around generative AI. For context, the AP did enter into an agreement with OpenAI, where it is allowing OpenAI to access some of its content to be used for training purposes that I mentioned. And in exchange, the AP gets to use some of the tools that OpenAI is developing. But in the standards that it published in 2023, it again underscored that it is the job of journalists to still vet the information and to make sure it is accurate and fair. So, with all of that said, as journalists, I think the takeaway is to proceed with caution when it comes to ChatGPT. This is a list of uses that I've compiled as recommended by other journalists and how they're using ChatGPT. As I mentioned, creating summaries, headlines. People are using it to write FOIA requests or generate interview questions. And we've, of course, been working a lot in spreadsheets, and ChatGPT can also help with that. Some of the risks, though, involved with this tool in particular is that there are some lawsuits right now against OpenAI, one even by the New York Times for copyright infringement, potentially. As I mentioned, some of the data that was used to develop ChatGPT and that ChatGPT is continuing to consume essentially to improve its outputs is articles by journalists, and they've also in cases where it's spitting out the work of journalists verbatim. So we'll see how these cases play out, but it could have some real ramifications on how ChatGPT can be used and how it can work. There's also concerns being raised by journalists and experts about ChatGPT and its potential role in spreading misinformation. When it doesn't know something, it would just make it up. And the other thing to keep in mind is that if you're using the free version, that data that uh, ChatGPT is trained on only goes up through October 2023. So it doesn't know anything that's happened pretty much within the last year. So with all of that said, I think any time that we're using ChatGPT and using it to create things, we have to make sure that we are checking it thoroughly. So whether it's ChatGPT created or not, this is the most important job that we can do as journalists is to check what information it is that we are putting out into the world. Thank you for listening.